Eileen Wuornos, often known as that chick from Monster. She's been found guilty of killing 6 persons between 1989 and 1990. Having been raised by her grandparents after her mother abandoned her, Eileen Wuornos had a sad upbringing. Her father, who was charged with child molestation, hung himself in jail. Wuornos said that as a child, her grandfather had sexually molested her. Thus, it must have run in the family. She was kicked out of the house when she was 15 and she moved into the woods. She turned to prostitution as a means of support. She subsequently took a hitchhike to Florida and got married to a 69-year-old yacht club owner, Louis Fell, when she was 20. There was a restraining order against her after a brief 9-week marriage, and 10 years later, she met Tyria Moore, the love of her life, and the hotel maid who would become her sidekick. The pair turned to murdering and robbing Wuornos' clients, since their limited income was insufficient to support them. Police discovered the bodies of 6 of her victims in various Florida locations after she shot them. She also murdered a second man, although his corpse was never discovered. Instead, she was seen driving the victim's automobile with Moore, according to witnesses. His pawn shop finds her fingerprints that connected him to Wuornos. She was taken into custody in 1991 and executed in 2002. Number 2. Janine Jones, 1950 to present. She was found guilty of killing 2 infants, but it's also possible that she killed anywhere between 11 and 46 kids. A pediatric nurse in Texas named Janine Jones enjoyed the drama. She cherished being put in situations of life or death when she would save the youngster and receive acclaim for her bravery. To render her unwilling actors seriously ill, she would inject them with digoxin, heparin, and subsequently succinylcholine. Sadly, many of them would not survive long enough for Jones to rescue them. The frightening death rate of children in her care was so high that the first hospital she worked for asked her to leave. Her offenses would be found in her subsequent work. Children with respiratory issues and other unusual ailments, albeit none of them were fatal, started to show up at the hospital. Suspicions increased, though, when 14-month-old Chelsea McKellen passed away from cardiac arrest while receiving her routine measles and mumps vaccination at the hospital. Even the media began to cover these enigmatic deaths, and Jones was accused of murder after succinylcholine was found in McKellen's body. When heparin was discovered in the system of another child, she was also found guilty of attempted murder. She's already served 99 years in prison, but will be released on parole in 2017. Number 3. Griselda Blanco, 1943-2012. She was convicted of trafficking cocaine and was thought to have killed over 200 people. Griselda Blanco, also known as the Godmother, the Queen of Cocaine, and the Black Widow, was born and raised in Colombia by an abusive mother. She was a vicious individual who gained notoriety for carrying out motorcycle drive-by shootings. She planned the Dade County shopping mall massacre in 1979, which resulted in the deaths of 4 people. She would perform at female orgasms, occasionally killing the strippers after for her enjoyment because she was bisexual. Number 4. Delphine LaLaurie, 1775 to 1842. She inhumanly tortured black slaves and killed them. A well-known and rich socialite in New Orleans, Delphine LaLaurie, she held her slaves, much like many other wealthy people, and allegations about her mistreating them were widespread. One day, a slave girl had a snag in her hair while being combed, and LaLaurie became enraged, causing the slave to jump to her death. Authorities discovered a slave who was contemplating suicide, bound to the stove after deciding she would rather die than be sent to the chamber above to be punished. Number 5. Nanny Doss, 1905 to 1965. 8 to 11 of her spouses, children, and family members were poisoned to obtain insurance money. Nanny Doss, an Alabama native, was raised working on a farm by her harsh and authoritarian father. Reading her mother's romance novels and fantasizing about her love destiny were among her few pleasures in life. But as she looked for the ideal love, her future would be marred by blood. She had 4 children during her first marriage, which she entered at the age of 16, but 2 of them passed away just a few months apart. The infant, Florine, was left behind as her husband suspiciously went with one of the remaining daughters. As Florine got older and had her child, she made a brief visit to her father's house, and when she arrived back, she discovered that the child had passed away while in Doss's care. Doss's second spouse became ill just a few months later and passed away as well. Doss purchased 10 acres of property and constructed a home with the additional insurance money that she now possessed. Doss's relatives started suddenly disappearing in the early 1950s. Her mother and 2 sisters were also dispatched to an early grave, along with husbands 3 and 4. After her 5th husband passed away a month after their wedding, an autopsy revealed that he had ingested enough arsenic in his system to kill 20 men. Doss was sentenced to life in prison in 1955 after confessing to at least 10 killings that occurred over 3 decades. 10 years later, the vile woman rightfully passed away from leukemia. Number 6. Jane Toppan. She was accused of killing 31 hospital patients and family members. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, Jane Toppan worked as a nursing student. She was fired when 2 unexplained deaths occurred while she was in charge, because she was fascinated with autopsies. She forged paperwork to become a private nurse and worked at houses in New England. Although she caused the deaths of her old friend's mother and herself, Jane was nonetheless chosen by her friend's father to serve as the family nurse. Up to 100 people are thought to have died at the hands of Jane Toppan. She was admitted to an insane institute after confessing to 31 killings. She allegedly fed her foster sister a fatal tonic to kill her. When she was detained in New Hampshire, she was also treating another patient. Her deceased friend's husband sought autopsies and revealed that 3 of the victims had lethal dosages of morphine in them. Number 7. Andrea Yates, 1964 to present. She drowned her 5 kids in a bathtub. A crime. Texas-born Andrea Yates was a brilliant child who graduated from high school as valedictorian. Yates was hospitalized many times for suicidal attempts before receiving a diagnosis of postpartum depression and psychosis in 1999. She had her 5th kid despite being advised by her psychiatrist to not have any more children, which caused her to experience acute depression. She starved her kids, committed self-mutilation, and constantly read the Bible. Catherine Yates drowned her 4 children in a bathtub in 2001 after being abandoned with them by her husband for an hour while he went to work. Yates was given a life sentence after being found guilty of first-degree murder. Due to her insanity, this decision was amended to not guilty in 2006, and she was admitted to a hospital. Number 8. Patty Hearst, active since 1954. Armed robbery and extortion are her crimes. The Symbionese Liberation Army abducted Patty Hearst in 1974 and held her hostage for 19 months. Every hungry individual from Santa Rosa to Los Angeles was to receive $2 million worth of food, according to the SLA's demands from her family. She would engage in criminal behavior after being freed, including extorting cash from her father. Her sentence was commuted when she completed 21 months in prison, and she went on to become an actress. Many psychologists have examined her case to determine whether or not she experienced Stockholm Syndrome. Number 9. Gwendolyn Graham and Catherine May Wood, 1962 to present. She smothered 5 senior citizens or more. Graham's worked as a nurse's assistant under Wood's supervision, but as they fell in love, their relationship changed. They killed their victims for the next 3 months, and then made love while still remembering their deed. Wood moved after she refused to commit suicide to show Graham she was in love with him. With a year of holding it in, Wood's ex-husband contacted the police after she told them about the killings. Graham was sentenced to life in prison, while Wood received 20 to 40 years for testifying against her ex-lover as a part of a plea agreement. Number 10. Never confirmed. Belle Gunnis, born in 1859. She killed more than 40 husbands, children, and wealthy suitors to obtain insurance. A Norwegian immigrant named Belle Gunnis arrived in America in 1881. She was married to a Chicagoan and had 4 kids, but 2 of them passed away in infancy. The 2 girls of her new husband would suffer the same fate as her previous family. She bought an Indiana farm with the insurance money, which ultimately burned down. Gunnis turned to a newspaper's lovelorn column to find affluent guys because she had no family to bump off. She discovered the Gunnis farmhouse was destroyed by fire. Over 40 men and kids were buried across the land in small patches of earth. Well, that's it for today, guys. Please share your thoughts with us below. Keep up to date with the latest courtroom topics by subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell icon for more future updates. Thanks for watching.